On the bidding day, she acted decisively, directly having the car wait outside the Stone family villa. "Hello, Mr. Blake." A woman in an elegant suit quickly approached as I stepped outside. I stood before her, not moving another step. "I never asked for your name." I gently initiated the conversation. She seemed taken aback, lowered her gaze to hide her disappointment, and after a moment of silence replied, "My surname is Song, Lily Rose." With that answer, I no longer pressed. When she gestured for me to get in the car again, I obediently took my seat in the passenger seat. Until the car door closed, I remained silent, unsure if I was angry or for some other reason. I gazed out at the scenery outside the window, but my mind was unconsciously pondering the 3 words Lily Rose. I had no particular impression of this name, only a vague sense of familiarity. I secretly turned my head to look at her, noticing she was solely focused on driving, wanting to say something but unsure how to. In the end, I still said nothing. The car quickly stopped in front of the banquet hall. Lily Rose and I got out. I intended to walk straight in, having gone a short distance, but she remained behind. Turning my head, I saw her standing still, a slightly dazed expression on her face. "What's wrong?" I asked in surprise. She bit her lip, looked directly at me. Everyone else holds hands with their companions when entering a party. For some reason, there was no hint of emotion on Lily Rose's face, yet I could sense a hint of grievance. I cleared my throat, feeling somewhat helpless, and returned to her side, wrapping my arm around hers as we walked toward the banquet hall together. "Have we met before?" Upon hearing my question, a flash of disappointment crossed Lily Rose's eye. "He really doesn't remember me. We were high school classmates, but I was always the one sitting in the corner of the class." She was solitary, quiet, always the one most easily forgotten in class. Even her parents were busy with work and had no time to care for. Back then, Lily Rose, immersed in her own world every day, reacted indifferently to classmates who came to talk to her. So even though she was not an ordinary person, no one remembered, not even me. Beside her at that time, she had liked me for a long time. From the first time I approached her, unlike other students who merely exchanged casual greetings and never contacted her again, I did not overlook her silence. No matter the issue or task, I seriously sought the opinions of all students, including her. I became the person who appeared most in her life, talked to her the most, becoming the only light in her life. But later, she resented her own shyness and silence countless times, which led her to only connect with me through the one yearbook at graduation. But she never proactively spoke to me once, because she always felt that a person as ordinary as herself was not worthy of. Afterward, she studied abroad while receiving psychological treatment. The first time she mustered the courage to inquire about me, she learned I was dating someone else. At that moment, she thought as long as I was happy, even if she had to be a passerby in my life forever, she would accept. She had almost given up, but then learned I had broken up with my girlfriend, so she returned. Until this moment, hearing Lily Rose's explanation, I finally found the fragments of memories related to her in the corners of my mind. It was just that when I thought of the quiet, reticent classmate from back then, and looked at the woman now attending the party, discussing collaborations with natural ease, I still found it hard to believe. I couldn't help but exclaim, "It's been years since we last met. You've changed so much. You're even more beautiful." Upon hearing my last remark, she couldn't help but feel her ears turn slightly red. The banquet hall was bustling with activity. Many people had come to participate in the bid. Just as we had entered the hall for a short while, another man and woman walked in. I only heard the noise and reflexively turned to look at the entrance, but unexpectedly, my gaze directly met that of the newcomer. "The Stone family!" Both sides exclaimed in surprise, drawing the attention of others in the hall. Everyone looked toward the entrance, while I, the one forced to endure their scrutinizing gazes, could only frown. The Moe and Julian Frost families were also top families in high school. How could we, Serena Blackwood and Julian Frost, cause such a commotion at a banquet in whose there was no dignity or decorum of a prestigious family? Fearing being implicated, I ignored the two behind me, turned to take Lily Rose's hand, and quickly moved deeper into the banquet. Behind us, Serena Blackwood was still astonished by my presence here, then saw me holding the hand of the woman beside me, and the sudden anger clouded her judgment, making her disregard Julian Frost beside her, rushing to catch up and loudly questioning, "The Stone family, who is that? Why are you with?" As Julian Frost hurriedly followed, the only thing he caught was Serena Blackwood's fiery question. Julian Frost said nothing, his gaze shifting between the two holding hands, and after a while, a mocking expression appeared on his face. What else could it be? After breaking up with her, he must have clung to someone else. Otherwise, with his status, how could he enter a bidding bank? He spoke with certainty, completely oblivious to Serena Blackwood's darkening expression or the strange looks from those around. "The Way family is the richest family in whose city. I'm the only son of a billionaire. Do I need to cling to someone else to enter a bank? Where did these two fools come from? If even the son of a billionaire needed to rely on others to participate in a bidding, then who would be qualified?" But since it was amusing to watch, no one reminded. I frowned in the crowd, while Lily Rose beside me had a cold expression, reaching out to grasp Serena Blackwood's wrist. In the next moment, Serena Blackwood felt a sharp pain in her wrist. Perhaps taken by surprise by Lily Rose's sudden move, Serena Blackwood was unprepared and nearly cried out in pain. Seeing she still wouldn't let go of my arm, Lily Rose's emotionless voice rang out, "Let go!" Her cold tone made Serena Blackwood shiver involuntarily. She looked up at the person in front of her, her expression growing ugly. Julian Frost couldn't help but feel pity, immediately pointing a finger at Lily Rose and scolding, "Do you know who we are? How dare you treat us like this? I don't believe I won't make you suffer." Though Serena Blackwood said nothing, the shadow of darkness that passed through her eyes, combined with her failure to stop Julian Frost's unreasonable words from the beginning, indicated her thoughts were no different from his. I scoffed, first patting Lily Rose's hand to signal her to let go. Although Lily Rose was somewhat reluctant, seeing me nod at her, she obediently released her grip. Seeing our reaction, Serena Blackwood's expression finally improved. Even Julian Frost thought we were afraid and yielded. He was striking a pose, about to say something, but the next second I had removed the brooch from my chest and without hesitation stabbed it toward her hand. Serena Blackwood still believed I wouldn't dare to actually strike. After all, I loved her so much, how could I bear to hurt? Surely it was just a bluff to scare. The Stone family, you know. As Serena Blackwood opened her mouth, the brooch had already stabbed sharply into the back of her hand. The sudden pain caused Serena Blackwood to immediately lose strength in her hand, releasing her grip on it. Seizing the opportunity, I stepped back to avoid Julian Frost's impending strike. Then, with a crisp sound, I delivered a solid slap to his. A clear handprint immediately appeared on Julian Frost's face. His gaze was filled with disbelief, as if he had never thought I would dare to strike. Unlike his furious expression, my face remained calm, as if I had merely greeted them rather than slapped Julian Frost. I handed Lily Rose a tissue, then took another from the table to wipe my hands, my eyes looking at them with a mix of disdain and mockery. "Do you really think you are that important?" The sneer at the corner of my mouth made Serena Blackwood's eyes redden for the first time. However, all his anger gradually cooled when he heard my next words. "Two people participating in the bidding, yet you don't even know who your opponent is. How foolish." Opponent in the bidding. Serena Blackwood and Julian Frost recalled the documents they had received, scrutinizing the person in front of them, and finally connected Lily Rose with the second daughter of the Tong family, the second richest family in whose city, second only to the Stone family. At this point, Lily Rose, who had initially been outside the conversation, remained silent for a long time before finally speaking again. "Instead of asking us if we know who you are, why not ask the person beside you who we are?" The word "we" immediately left Serena Blackwood and Julian Frost frozen in place. So her implication was that not only she but I was also participating in the bid. The other bidders clearly did not match with me, leaving only one possibility. I was Ethan Blake, the only son of the Who City billionaire. Realizing this, Serena Blackwood and Julian Frost's faces suddenly turned pale. Looking around, the crowd was clearly enjoying the spectacle. At this moment, how could the two of them not understand that they were the clowns being watched? Serena Blackwood's face shifted from green to red, and she completely forgot that she had come here to participate in the bidding, hurriedly leaving the banquet hall in a fluster. Seeing her leave, Julian Frost glared at me with resentment and then quickly chased after. I noticed the hatred in his eyes, but paid it no mind. After all, Julian Frost had not just started to hate me recently. His support was merely the Jiang family and his vague engagement to Serena Black. If Serena Blackwood could agree to marry Julian Frost while still loving me, then when the benefits Julian Frost provided became minimal, she would naturally abandon him and choose someone else. As for the Jiang family, they wouldn't even need me to take action, just knowing that Julian Frost had offended. The first to abandon him would be the Jiang family. But at this moment, the most important thing for me is the bid. Just as the play concludes, the organizers also appear. They glance at the two who have jumped into the car and sped away, saying nothing, merely marking an X next to their name. The bidding process is tense and thrilling, but in the end I still win the project. On the way back, Lily Rose is still driving. This time, she breaks the silence first. "Do you still like?" The question is too sudden. I pause for a moment before realizing who she's referring to, and I immediately show a look of helplessness. "Where did you conclude that from? I thought you agreed to the matchmaking because you knew she would be there, so you brought me along to make her jealous. Anyway, when we first met, your attitude was really not very friendly." Although later, I wasn't friendly towards Serena Blackwood either, she still couldn't help but think, if you didn't remember her when you first met, and even slightly brushed her off, why would you agree to the matchmaking? My aunt suggests. "I just came to take a look. But I don't have the habit of still keeping someone in my heart while getting to know someone. My requirement for a partner is loyalty. Therefore, I also demand the same of myself." Perhaps because the events at the party had brought the two of us closer, I was particularly patient with her question. question at this. We chatted for a few sentences, and the car quickly stopped in front of the Way family villa. I waved goodbye and turned to enter the. As I approached the door, my steps suddenly halted, and I turned my head to see her car still parked. Without any sign of starting up, I walked back to her side. The car window rolled down, and she blinked, her gaze carrying a hint of confusion and surprise as she looked at me. Mr. Gu, do you have anything else to do? We're classmates. No need to be so polite. You can just call me Ethan Blake from now on. Hearing the politeness in her address, I smiled, but I agreed to the matchmaking only because of my aunt. I didn't really intend to start a new relationship, so for now, let's maintain our friendship. After saying that, I waved at her again, truly like a normal friend saying goodbye. Be careful on your way back. Watching my figure gradually disappear behind the villa gate, she broke into a faint smile. Lily Rose had waited for so many years, so of course she didn't mind waiting a little long. As he said, for now, just being friends is fine. Besides, going from strangers to friends is already quite satisfying. That night, unlike the two in High City who tossed and turned all night, both Lily Rose and I slept sound. Until the next morning, I was awakened by the incessant ringing of my phone. Groggily opening my eyes, I discovered that my social media account had been attacked to the point of collapse. The ring-dong sound kept ringing, and just a glance revealed nothing but malicious insult. At that moment, a phone call from High City came. I picked up the phone and realized it was a friend from my years in High City. Ethan Blake. Have you seen the comments online? Those netizens really go with the wind, believing whatever they hear. Even the rumor that you're the rich heir playing the third wheel in someone else's relationship is spread. You need to clarify this quickly, so those slanderers get the punishment they deserve. My friend didn't even take a breath, continuously firing off words like cannonballs, his breathless tone clearly showing his anger. Listening to his explanation, I finally figured everything. It turns out that after Julian Frost returned to High City yesterday, he couldn't swallow the humiliation from the. Relying on his engagement with Serena Blackwood, he twisted the truth, saying I was interfering in his relationship with her, even releasing evidence that Serena Blackwood and I were living together after their engagement. Initially, the netizens didn't believe that the only son of a billionaire would interfere in someone else's family. But Julian Frost provided evidence, and even Serena Blackwood's sisters testified that I was the one interfering. Once that happened, the midnight gossipers believed it was true, and found my social media account to start a frenzied attack. Your family is so rich. Hasn't anyone taught you that people should have morals and not interfere in other people's family? What kind of billionaire's son is this, doing such morally corrupt things? Shame. Boycott him. Boycott. Among the insults, there were also those who found my account and directly hurled vulgarities using lowly language. It was truly unacceptable. Of course, there were also some rational netizens saying that we should wait for my response, at least we shouldn't just listen to one side. But beneath such comments, the majority were still insults. I'll handle. Did you forget I'm the son of a billion? The legal department doesn't sit idle. If he dares to spread rumors, he must be prepared to face the consequence. Hearing my confident tone, my friend finally breathed a sigh of relief, comforted me a few more times, and then hugged. After ending the call, I went back to the website to see how far the incident had spread. When I saw the malicious insults, it would be a lie to say I wasn't angry at all. I was a bit confused. Previously, they looked down on me because they thought I came from a poor background, unworthy of Serena Black. Now, my identity as the son of a billionaire was known even to the netizens. Where did they get the audacity to join Julian Frost in slander? I coldly took screenshots of each comment online and saved. Just then the phone rang again urgently. It was an unknown number. I hesitated for a moment before answering. Ethan Blake, are you okay? Don't pay attention to what they say online. I know you didn't do those things, and don't be angry because of it. I believe that Uncle and Aunt are handling this. If you need any help from me, just say so. If you need any help from me, just say so. Hearing the tenderness and urgency in Lily Rose's voice, I felt the pent-up anger in my heart dissipate, and I smiled lightly. It's fine, I'm not that. It's just a rumor. I can handle it myself. Seeing that I was in a better mood, Lily Rose also relaxed her tightened heart, not wanting to hang up but unsure of what to say at that moment. The two ends of the line fell into a prolonged silence. In that extended silence, through the phone screen, it seemed we could hear each other's gentle breath. Finally, I took the initiative to break the deadlock. Lily Rose, thank you. Although I wouldn't be affected by those baseless rumors, I appreciated her concern. I added the last sentence in my heart and hurriedly hung. On the other end, Lily Rose held the phone that had disconnected, feeling that time had passed too quick. If only that moment could last forever. The moment when the two of us on either end of the line silently listened to each other's breaths in a wordless word. For her, that was enough. Initially, when my parents heard the news that I was being insulted online, they were so angry they cursed directly, almost going to confront Serena Blackwood, Julian Frost, and their group of rascals. A despicable man, a vile woman, truly unaware of their own limitation. My mother, following my father's lead, even rolled her eyes. What a pair of beasts. From my perspective, they are truly a couple of animals. It took a lot for me to finally calm my parents. Seeing their expressions, I couldn't help but laugh and cry. All right, don't worry, I won't let them bully. If they dare to spread rumors, they must be prepared to pay the price. At the Jiang family home in High City, Serena Blackwood had a gloomy expression, looking at Julian Frost, who was crying pitifully, her eyes filled with disgust. Didn't I tell you to put away your little trick? Initially, I thought you were somewhat useful and decided to keep you around, but I didn't expect you to be so bold as to directly contact Ashley Sterling and others, slandering Ethan Blake. It seems I gave you too much faith. She grabbed his chin, forcing him to look. He shook his head repeatedly, but could not elicit her. Mo Dong. That bastard is clearly the son of a billionaire, yet he deceived you for 5 years, claiming he came from a poor background. Now that we've offended him, you don't think he still has feelings for you, do you? Instead of waiting for him to take revenge later, why don't we join forces to completely crush the Wei family? Listening to him, the pressure from Serena Blackwood finally eased. That's right. He's clearly the son of a billionaire, yet he hid it from me for 5 years. If I had known he was the son of a billionaire, I wouldn't have needed to marry someone else. I didn't even disdain the false identity he fabricated, and I was still willing to keep him by my side. And what did he do? He took this opportunity to decisively abandon me, causing me such a huge loss. Why should I maintain a noble status for him? Why not let him fall from grace too? Then when he finds himself in a bind and has to come back to me, wouldn't that be better? After all, when he left, everything related to us was lost. As long as we stick to this, won't he have to bear the stigma of being the third party? Then you need to work harder to pull him down from his billionaire status. With that, she didn't linger any longer and turned to leave Julian Frost's. The roar of the engine faded into the distance, and the resentment in Julian Frost's eyes deepened. His actions were not a momentary impulse. Since returning from Whose City and realizing he had ruined the bidding and offended the billionaire's son, the Jiang family had decisively abandoned. He had originally wanted to rely on his marriage to Serena Blackwood to secure his position in the Jiang family, but as soon as he brought it up, his parents slapped him down. How dare you mention marrying Serena Black? She just came back today and came to find us to cancel the engagement. You can't even keep a woman. What use do you have? It was only at this moment that Julian Frost realized he had been abandoned by everyone. But why? Ethan Blake, because of you, I was abandoned by the Jiang family and scorned by Serena Blackwood. Yet how can you still look down on me from your high position? He vented all his resentment on me, dragging Ashley Sterling and Serena Blackwood along, making a desperate attempt to struggle one last time. They all naively thought that as long as they erased the past between me and Serena Blackwood, even if I presented evidence of our 5-year relationship, they could still create older evidence to destroy, until I directly released 2 surveillance videos and the chat where Julian Frost initially provoked. The first video is a conversation in French that they had in front of me a month ago. Although the voices of the people in the surveillance video are slightly distorted, the meaning in their words is still conveyed very clearly. Serena Blackwood secretly got engaged to someone else behind my back, even trying to keep me around as a lover in the name of love. The remaining surveillance video shows the confrontation between Julian Frost and me outside the restaurant. In the video, it is clearly heard when I say that I had been involved with Serena Blackwood for 5 years. If we really have to say who the interloper is, it must be Julian Frost. At that moment, apart from his impotent anger, he did not refuse. If the interloper were truly me, with Julian Frost's character at that time, he would have counted. Adding to that, his boasting in front of his official boyfriend, when considered from every angle, does not resemble the words of someone who is the interloper, but rather sounds like the words of someone with the mindset of, the one who is not loved is the third party. In reality, he knows that he is the interloper. Public opinion immediately turned around. How the netizens used to curse me is now reflected back, with Serena Blackwood and Julian Frost being ruthlessly criticized. While the self-proclaimed Knights of Justice furiously cursed under Serena Blackwood and Julian Frost's Weibo, I directly filed lawsuits against all the netizens who had come to my comments to insult me and received many likes, as well as those who took advantage of the situation to throw dirt on me. Along with Julian Frost, Serena Blackwood, and their group of friends, all were brought. I no longer monitored the subsequent events myself, but entrusted all authority to the legal department of Tonkai to handle. When I logged back into my social media account, the comment section was much cleaner. Occasionally, a few troublemakers would jump in, but they were quickly banned from speaking. When their ban expired, just as they were about to continue their nonsense, they discovered a court summons added to their personal page. This ultimately made them completely deflated. And for those who left comforting comments for me, I also specially posted a Weibo. The net of heaven is vast, sparse yet not missed. Only those who truly have skeletons in their closets fear rumor. As for me, I merely utilized the law to protect my rightful interests. Julian Frost has been completely abandoned. I am not too concerned about the subsequent event. It's just that when I heard that on the day Julian Frost was brought to court, he couldn't even find a lawyer willing to defend him, I felt a bit regret. In fact, if Julian Frost hadn't sought his own demise and had come before me, he could have maintained a peaceful facade with Serena Blackwood, living as the most ordinary couple in an arranged marriage among the elite. But unfortunately, he did not know enough. When I was still with Serena Blackwood, he wanted to drive me away. When I left, he dumped all his grievances on me, wanting to trample me under. In the end, he ended up in such a including Serena Blackwood. The sisters led by Ashley Sterling are always like this, bowing to the strong, bullying the weak, thinking that background determines everything. After realizing that they had no chance for reconciliation, they chose to ally with Julian Frost, ultimately being brought to court. Is it worth? On the contrary, the central figure of this drama, Serena Blackwood, having never posted any related comments, only chose to remain silent, has instead distanced herself from the incident. As soon as this matter concluded, a representative from the legal department came to see me to report the result. Due to the serious circumstances in court, those people were still shouting that they were not at fault, with a terrible attitude of admitting guilt, coupled with my refusal to reconcile. In the end, they were all sentenced to 2 years in prison. After that, netizens mocked that the scene of a group of rich young masters and ladies crying as they were taken to prison was extremely rare, perhaps something they would only see once in a lifetime. After learning the final verdict, I no longer care. I just didn't expect Serena Blackwood to come looking for me again. At that time, I was discussing with Lily Rose where to eat after work when the internal phone of the receptionist rang. "Mr. Ethan, there is a Ms. Mona Dung who wants to see you." Upon hearing this, I was momentarily stunned, glancing at the person beside me who had crushed the Mona Dung group in just a month, no longer as she once was. Lily Rose pondered for a moment, but still not. I was also very curious. In a situation where both sides had completely confronted each other, why did she still come to find me? I thought Serena Blackwood's current situation was not pleasant, but when I actually met her, I was still momentarily taken aback. Just a few months apart, I could hardly recognize the frail woman, her face full of weariness, looking at least 10 years older, sitting at my desk, was the once beautiful and charming Serena Blackwood. But I was only surprised for a moment, quickly regaining my distant demeanor as if miles apart. Serena Blackwood saw Lily Rose sitting next to me, seemingly not expecting her to be here, her breath momentarily becoming disordered, but she also knew that she no longer had the right to speak in front. With a face full of suffering, she pleaded for my last mercy. "Ethan, I know I was wrong to you before, but I truly never deceived. From start to finish, I only loved. Please look at our past feelings and spare the Mona Dung." Her posture was very low, completely devoid of the arrogance she had when she was with me. Even though she tried to restrain it, it still showed from every aspect. But I just raised both hands and shook my head, then pointed at Lily Rose beside me. "The one who crushed the Mona Dung group is not me. Why don't you go plead with?" I smiled, but the smile did not reach my eyes. Moreover, Serena Blackwood, hasn't our past relationship been completely exhausted by when you secretly got engaged to someone else, intending to keep me as a lover? When you used French with those sisters to mock and belittle me, never thinking of stop? When Julian Frost and his friends spread rumors about me, you were content to be invisible. Now you come to remind me of our past feelings? Why didn't you remember that we once had feelings during those times? Hearing this, Serena Blackwood's face immediately turned pale. At this moment, she only felt her throat was tight, swallowing was difficult. "Ethan, I never did those things to you." She looked frantic, trying to justify herself. Just as she finished speaking, even the fake smile on my face vanished. "You didn't do anything? You just stood by and watched." Serena Blackwood. Those who just stand by and watch like you are the most despicable. Looking at the woman in front of me, the disgust in my eyes was not concealed at all. "It's because you stood by that your friends treated me so poor. It's because you tacitly agreed that it created opportunities for Julian Frost to hurt me time and time again. Now you say you didn't do anything? Fine, you say you didn't do anything. I also say I never crushed the Mona Dung group. I can't help with it." After saying that, I raised my voice. "Linda, see our guest." Linda immediately opened the office door wearing an extremely formulaic smile. "Please, Ms. Mona Dung." She wanted to say something else, but I directly pulled Lily Rose and walked past her. After all, I am the CEO. Occasionally taking a break from work is not something anyone would manage. As for the person in the office, with Linda watching over, there would be no problem escorting her. "So what should we eat? Western food or home-cooked meal?" "It's been a while since I had home-cooked meals. I'm a bit craving it. Let's have home-cooked meals." Lily Rose looked at me gently, completely different from the shy demeanor she had when we first. She turned her head to look at me, raising an eyebrow. My footsteps suddenly stopped. When I looked at her, the seriousness in her eyes made my heart suddenly race. I was just about to change the subject and continue walking. Her voice chased after me from behind. I liked her confession seemed a bit sudden, but it was also within my expectation. I stopped in my tracks, turned to look at her, and couldn't help but sigh. But you know I've said that I'm not ready for a new relationship right now. So when I am, can you be the first? Her eyes sparkled like a galaxy. Looking into the twinkling light in her eyes, the rejection that was on my lips could no longer be. I smirked faintly, a smile creeping onto my face. Seeing her so enthusiastic, I reluctantly agreed. She smiled brightly in response. It's not reluctant at all. Lily Rose had waited through many seasons, from spring to winter. She believed that in the next cycle of seasons, loneliness would no longer accompany. In love, it is not about possession or exploitation, but about appreciation and sincerity. We should not only focus on what we receive, but also on how we give. The story of these 4 characters reminds us that in love, as in life, we should not hastily judge someone based on a first encounter or their appearance, because sometimes the most precious gems are hidden behind a simple exterior, and the truest love can come from the most unexpected place.